We just received multiple serious Eagles updates as this has major implications for the upcoming game versus the Buffalo Bills, with this game being a major litmus test for this Eagles team heading into the playoffs and what these updates will mean for the team moving forward. We'll break all of this down and more on another edition of Eagles Digest. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here on Eagles Digest to break down this upcoming matchup against the Buffalo Bills, and we just received some major injury updates that I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed your holiday, and we're back here on Eagles Digest to break down this upcoming matchup, as it's a huge matchup for the Eagles to really get out there and put their best foot forward and, really just gain some confidence underneath them, knowing that they can really compete with a championship type of team with the Buffalo Bills. Before we get into this video, we're currently at 1,234 subscribers on this channel. We really appreciate all the support. If you're tuning into this video and you want to be up to date on the Philadelphia Eagles on a daily basis, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you're notified of all of our videos. But getting right into this episode, as we break down this Eagles and Buffalo Bills matchup, this is going to be something where you look at what both of these teams need. You know that the Buffalo Bills, they definitely need this win to, up their seeding. They want to get the 5 seed. I mean, they obviously want to have the division, but the Patriots have to lose out and the Bills pretty much have to win out in order for that to happen. So that's seeming unlikely at this point. For the Eagles on the other side, it's more of just a win and try to get, more confidence under your belt, knowing that you just beat the Washington Commanders and the Las Vegas Raiders, who people are saying that you should beat those teams. Against the Bills, it's more of a 50-50 type of thing. They're really taking Josh Allen and the Bills to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is a good test for the Eagles to go out there and show that they should be taken seriously in this conference and in the NFL. They're the reigning Super Bowl champions, and they got to act like it. And we definitely received some major injury updates when it came to, top players. I'll start with the good news for the Philadelphia Eagles. This was A.J. Brown and Landon Dickerson both returned to practice on Friday after missing time earlier in the week. Both are expected to play on Sunday in Buffalo. That was Dave Sangaro on NBC Sports Philadelphia. So with A.J. Brown and Landon Dickerson, those are big additions for the Eagles for their Sunday matchup against the Buffalo Bills, because the Buffalo Bills have a great pass rush and you don't want to have 2 injuries on your offensive line. You already have Lane Johnson, who has been out for a couple of weeks, which I'll get right into, but you've been dealing with Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens injuries all year. You don't want to go with a backup guard in that position against a really good pass rush in the Buffalo Bills. So having any sort of advantage on your offensive line is a plus. And then also with A.J. Brown, it was kind of a little wild situation, him having, wisdom teeth in the middle of Christmas week, which is a wild, appointment to have, but I'm not really surprised by anything that A.J. Brown does. So it definitely sounded like an emergency type of thing. He gets it taken care of, and he is expected to play against Buffalo. 2 huge additions on the offensive side of the ball. When we go to the defensive side of the ball, this is also some really good news, is that Jalen Carter made it through the full week of practice and expected to make his return against the Bills after missing the last 3 games. The Pro Bowl defensive tackle had a procedure on both shoulders about a month ago and said earlier this week that he's feeling the positive effects. And, when we look at, Jalen Carter and his opportunity in this game, it's the opportunity to take off some rust. He's going in there and he just has to work his way back to game speed. I think missing the last 3 games, the Eagles have been able to show like they have been able to stop the run against the Chargers, against the Raiders, and against the Commanders. But having big number 98 there with Jordan Davis, who is breaking out these past couple of weeks, it is just going to be a huge addition for this Eagles team, knowing that they both have 2 Georgia boys in the defensive tackle as well as your defensive line. So huge additions for the Philadelphia Eagles on the defensive side of the ball with Jalen Carter, because you know how much of an impact he makes on a game to game basis. He can wreck games. We've seen it, past in the past in the playoffs against the Los Angeles Rams. He was able to really help out this Eagles team get to a Super Bowl. If my mic can just, stay where it needs to stay, that would really be appreciated. So I think when we're looking at Jalen Carter and his ability to wreck games, that is going to be the paramount thing that the Eagles are going to look at against Josh Allen, against James Cook, two guys who have the ability to, break games. Obviously, Josh Allen is an MVP candidate, former MVP from last year, and then James Cook is looking like the best running back in the NFL. So if you're able to stop both of those guys, having big number 98 is going to be a huge advantage for the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward. And, when we talk about, the good news, there comes some bad news when it looks like for the Philadelphia Eagles. A little bit of bad news for the Eagles for this upcoming week, saying, but Lane Johnson and Nakobe Dean missed all week of practice and will likely be ruled out for the Bills game later on Friday when the final injury report of the week is released. It seems like for Lane Johnson and Nakobe Dean, this is going to be something where you look at what Nakobe Dean had, he tweaked his hamstring a little bit. That's definitely something that you don't want to rush back. You want him to make sure he is 100%. And then for Lane Johnson, I mean, he's been dealing with a Lisfranc injury in his foot. It is definitely something you definitely don't want to rush back, knowing that he is a big piece to an Eagles championship and playoff run. So you want to take your time and you want to make sure he is 100%. With my opinion for both of these guys right now, rest them until the playoffs. You don't need to rush them back against the Buffalo Bills. You don't even need to win any sort of game. You are in the playoffs. You are pretty much locked into the 3 seed. I'm sure you just need Carolina to lose one more game. You just want to make sure they are rested and fully healthy. Jahad Campbell has been able to explode on the scene for the Eagles. Kind of, in the middle of the season when Nakobe Dean was doing well, he kind of disappeared, but he is an impact player day one. We've seen it from, earlier in the year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams. So he's able to hold his own, as well as Fred Johnson. He has been improving as he's gotten more snaps and has gotten more playing time. So Fred Johnson and Jahad Campbell, I'm pretty confident that they're going to be able to, hold their own and pretty much, have a good benefit on this game against the Buffalo Bills. It's in Buffalo. I'm going to be at that game. I'm going to see if I can get some coverage, just some behind the scenes coverage of the game. Just going to want to post that on Eagles Digest, whether it be shorts or anything like that. It's going to be here right on Eagles Digest. So stay tuned for that. But when you're looking at Nakobe Dean, his injury could also be a sign for a team-friendly deal. He has been dealing with injuries, pretty much his whole career. His only healthy season, I believe, was in 2022, and he was also dealing with an injury going into the 2022 draft. So he's been dealing with injuries pretty much every year. So having someone who's already has an injury history, it may lower his market. I know that's kind of just, I'm hoping that he will be back in Philadelphia, but we'll see where it goes regarding the offseason. But it's definitely going to be interesting looking at this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. And when we look at the rest of the injury report right now, all 7 players who were full participants on Thursday were back on the field on Friday. Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, Jalen Carter, Fred Johnson, Cameron Latu, DeVonta Smith, and Cameron Williams. All of them should be activated for the game against the Buffalo Bills. A huge game. I mean, it's not for playoff implications. The Eagles have already clinched the NFC East. They don't need to worry about, clinching any sort of thing, but the 2 seed is still on the line. This is not just something where the 2 seed is out of the question and they just need to rest until the playoffs. The 2 seed is still on the line. Yes, you need the Chicago Bears to lose out, which they are up against the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers this week. So that can be, possibly in week 17, you may need to win that game to get the 2 seed. Who knows? But, knowing that you have most of your guys outside of Nakobe Dean and Lane Johnson ready to go for this game, it's going to be a huge advantage for this Eagles team moving forward. And, when we kind of look at the conference standings, we look at the Seattle Seahawks are at number one after that wild Thursday night football finish against the Los Angeles Rams. So right now they control their path to the one seed. You obviously have the Chicago Bears. They won a thrilling game after the Eagles game on Saturday. So they pretty much control their way to the number two seed. The Eagles are at the three seed right now. Panthers are at the number four. They can wrap up the division with a win and a Tampa Bay loss. And then when you look at the wild card, they're all clinched playoffs outside of the Panthers right now because they need, a little bit more help and they need to, win a couple more games. The San Francisco 49ers, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Green Bay Packers have all clinched playoff berths. So you got to see, the one seed is still on the line for both Rams and 49ers at this point. So you never know what's going to happen there. And then obviously the Green Bay Packers with the Detroit Lions losing, the Green Bay Packers are in and pretty much locked in at that 7th spot. So, I mean, when you're looking at this conference right now, the Eagles would be facing off against the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, that is a big, matchup right now because the Eagles have had a lot of success against the Los Angeles Rams, and that's a good thing, but that's also something where the Rams have seen the Eagles multiple times over the last 2 seasons, so they know how the Eagles work. The Eagles know how the Rams work, so it's kind of going to be like a division type of game, like when you looked at the Eagles and Commanders in the NFC Championship. Both teams know how each other works, so it's kind of going to be a bloodbath if the Eagles and Rams are going to face off in the wild card. But, it remains to be seen at this point. A couple more weeks of football, and we're going to have it all updated for you on Eagles Digest. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We're going to have more coverage on this Eagles and Bills matchup. I'll have my full preview going to be posted tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified of all of our videos. I also wanted to raise the question to you guys, who is going to make the biggest impact Sunday versus the Bills? Comment your thoughts down below. Let me know who you think is going to make the biggest impact against Josh Allen and this rising Buffalo Bills offense. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and as always, go Birds.